Well, hi, Pilgrim. I'm going to do a little devotion this afternoon from Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes that came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. Yes, the Lord is my light, and He's my salvation. Here is personal interest. He's my light, He's my salvation. The soul is assured of it, and therefore I'm going to declare it boldly. My light, yes, my light. Into the soul at the new birth, divine light is poured as a precursor of salvation. Where there is not enough light to see our own darkness and to long for the Lord Jesus, there is no evidence of salvation. But salvation finds us in the dark, but it doesn't leave us there. It gives light to those who sit in the valley of the shadow of death. After conversion, our God is our joy. He's our comfort, guide, teacher, in every sense. He's our light. He is light within, light around, light reflected from us, and light to be revealed to us. Note that it is not merely that the Lord gives light, but that He is light. Nor that He gives salvation, but that He is salvation. He, then, who by faith has laid hold upon God, has all covenant blessings in his possession. Every light is not the sun, but the Son is the Father of all lights. This being made sure as a fact, the argument drawn from it is put in the form of a question here. Whom shall I fear? This is a question that is its own answer. The powers of darkness are not to be feared, for the Lord our light, He destroys them. And the damnation of hell is not to be dreaded by us, for the Lord is our salvation. This is a very different challenge from that of boastful Goliath, for it is based upon a very different foundation. It rests not upon the conceited vigor of a big mighty arm of flesh, but upon the real power of an omnipotent I am. The Lord is the strength of my life. Here's a third glowing epithet to show that the writer's hope was fastened with a threefold cord that could not be broken. We may well accumulate terms of praise where the Lord lavishes deeds of grace. Our life derives all its strength from Him who is the author of it, and it deigns to make us strong. We can't be weakened by all the machinations of the adversary, of Satan. Of whom shall I be afraid? The bold question looks into the future as well as the present. If God be for us, who can be against us, as Paul says, either now or in time to come. This verse records a past deliverance. It is an instance of the way in which experience should be employed to reassure our faith in times of trial. Each word is instructive. When the wicked, it is a hopeful sign for us when the wicked hates us. If our foes were godly men, it would be a sore sorrow. But as for the wicked, their hatred is better than their love. Even mine enemies and my foes. Many of them were of different sorts, but they were unanimous in mischief and hearty in hatred. They came upon me. They advanced to the attack, leaping upon the victim like a lion upon its prey, to eat up my flesh like cannibals. They would make a full end of the man, tear him limb from limb, and make a feast for their malice. The enemies of our souls are not deficient in ferocity. They yield no quarter, and they ought to have none in return. See in what danger David was, in the grip, in the grasp of numerous powerful and cruel enemies, yet observe his perfect safety in their utter discomfiture. They stumbled, they fell. God's breath blew them off their legs. They were stones in the way which they'd never reckoned upon, and they made an embarrassing tumble over those rocks. This was literally true in the case of our Lord in Gethsemane, when those who came to take him went backward. They fell to the ground, and herein he was a prophetic representative of all wrestling believers who, rising from their knees, they shall by the power of faith throw their foes upon their faces. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Before the actual conflict, while the battle is still untried, the warrior's heart, being held in suspense, is liable to become, fluttered. Liable to be taken up with fear. The encamping host often inspires greater dread than the same host in actual affray. Young tells us of some who feel 1,000 deaths in fearing one. Doubtless the shadow of anticipated trouble is to timorous minds a more prolific source of sorrow than the trouble itself. But faith puts a strengthening plaister to the back of the courage and throws out of the window the dregs of the cup of trembling. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. When it actually comes to the push of pike, faith's shields will ward off the blow, and the first brush should be but the beginning of a war. Faith's banners will wave despite the foe. Though battle should succeed battle, and one campaign should be followed by another, the believer will not be dismayed at the length of the conflict. So, reader, this third verse is a comfortable and logical inference from the second. Confidence is a child of experience. Have you been delivered out of the great perils? Then set up your ensign. Wait at your watchfire. Let the enemy do his worst. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock. And now shall my head be lifted up above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I'll sing, yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord. One thing. Divided aims tend to distraction, weakness, and disappointment. The man of one book is eminent. The man of one pursuit is successful. Let all our affection be bound up in one affection, and that affection set upon heavenly things. One thing have I desired. What we cannot once attain, it is well to desire. God judges us very much by the desire of our hearts. He who rides a lame horse is not blamed by his master for want of speed if he makes all the haste he can, and would make more if he could. God takes the will for the deed with his children of the Lord. This is the right target for desires. This is the well into which to dip our buckets. This is the door to knock at, the bank to draw upon, the desire of men, and lie on the dunghill with Lazarus, the desire of the Lord, and be carried of angels into Abraham's bosom. Our desires of the Lord should be sanctified, humble, constant, submissive, fervent, and it is well if, as we the psalmist, they are all molten into one mass. Under David's painful circumstances, we might have expected him to desire repose, safety, and 1,000 other good things, but no, he has set his heart on the pearl, and he leaves the rest. That will I seek after. Holy desires must lead to resolute action. The old proverb says, wishers and wooders are never good housekeepers, and wishing never fills a sack. Well, desires are seeds that must be sown in the good soil of activity, for they'll yield no harvest. We shall find our desires to be like clouds without rain unless followed up by practical endeavors. That I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. For the sake of communion with the King, David longed to dwell always in the palace. So far from being wearied with the services of the tabernacle, he longed to be constantly engaged in them as his lifelong pleasure. Above all things, he desired to be part of the household of God, a home-born child living at home with his Father. This is our dearest wish. Only we extend it to these days of our immortal life that have not yet dawned. We pine for our Father's house above, the home of our souls. If we may but dwell there forever, we care but little for the goods or ills of this poor life. Jerusalem the golden is the one and only goal of our heart's longings. To behold the beauty of the Lord and exercise both for earthly and heavenly worshippers. We must not enter the assemblies of the saints in order to see and be seen, or merely to hear the minister. We must repair to the gatherings of the righteous, intent upon the gracious object of learning more of the loving Father, more of the glorified Jesus, more of the mysterious Spirit, in order that we may the more lovingly admire and the more reverently adore our glorious God. What a word is that, the beauty of the Lord. Think of it, dear reader. Better far, behold it by faith. What a sight will that be when every faithful follower of Jesus shall behold the King in his beauty. Oh, for that infinitely blessed vision, and to inquire in his temple. We should make our visits to the Lord's house inquirers' meetings, not seeking sinners alone, but assured saints should be inquirers. We must inquire as to the will of God, as how we may do it, as to our interest in the heavenly city, and how we may be more assured of it. We shall not need to make inquiries in heaven, for there we shall know even as we are known. But meanwhile, we should sit at Jesus' feet and awaken all our faculties to learn of him. The 5th verse. This verse gives an excellent reason for the psalmist's desire after communion with God, namely, that he was thus secured in the hour of peril. For in the time of trouble, that needy time, that time when others forsake me, he shall hide me in his pavilion. He shall hide me. He shall hide me in his pavilion. He shall give me the best of shelter in the worst of danger. The royal pavilion. It was erected in the center of the army, and around it all the mighty men kept guard at all hours. Thus, in that divine sovereignty which almighty power is sworn to maintain, the believer peacefully is hidden not by himself, but by the King who hospitably entertains him. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. Sacrifice aids sovereignty in screening the elect from harm. No one of old dared to enter the most holy place on pain of death, and if the Lord has hidden his people there, what foe shall venture to molest them? He shall set me upon a rock, immutably, eternity, and infinite power. Here come to the aid of sovereignty and sacrifice. How blessed is the standing of the man whom God sets on high, above his foes, upon an impregnable rock that never can be stormed. Well may we desire to dwell with the Lord, who so effectually protects his people. And now shall mine head be lifted up above mine enemies and round about me. He's quite sure of it. Godly men of old prayed in faith, nothing wavering, and spoke of the answer to their prayers as a certainty. David was by faith so sure of a glorious victory over all those who beset him that he arranged in his own heart what he would do when his foes lay all prostrate before him. That arrangement was such as gratitude suggested. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacles sacrifices of joy. That place for which he longed in his conflict should see his thankful joy in his triumphant return. He doesn't speak of jubilations to be offered in his palace and feastings in his banqueting halls, but holy mirth he selects as most fitting for so divine a deliverance. I will sing. This is the most natural mode of expressing thankfulness. Yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord. The vow is confirmed by repetition and explained by addition, which addition vows all the praise unto Jehovah. Let who will be silent. The believer, when his prayer is heard, must and will make his praise to be heard also. And let who will sing unto the vanities of the world. The believer, he reserves his music for the Lord alone. Charles Haddon Spurgeon, The Treasury of David. Well, Pilgrim, God bless you, my friend. Have a great afternoon with Jesus. God bless.